Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're inviting you on a really unique expedition.
Yeah.
Yeah, deep into Mexico's genetic history. And look, this isn't just about a country's past.
Right.
It's more like opening up a living archive, you know?
Yeah.
Where every single strand tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
A story woven from, well, ancient civilizations, huge global migrations, and just incredible human resilience.
It's a powerful image.
It is. Imagine, just for a second, one of the most diverse gene pools on the entire planet, holding echoes of peoples like the Maya, the Aztec, the Olmec.
The ancient roots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All blending with threads from, say, Spanish conquistadors, African communities brought over, and even like Chinese and Filipino sailors from centuries back. It's this profound blend.
It really is. And that living archive idea, it's not just a metaphor, you know. It really shows how Mexico's unique genetic mix was forged.
Right.
It's a direct result of this incredibly complex history. We're talking empires, colonization, constant cultural exchange. Right. And that's exactly what makes this such a rich topic. Not just for historians digging through records, but definitely for scientists trying to understand human health and diversity today.
Okay, so let's treat this deep dive as our expedition then. We're not just charting genetic markers on a map.
No, it's much more.
We're aiming to uncover some surprising truths literally written in our DNA. And these truths, well, they challenge assumptions, don't they?
They certainly do.
And they raise these really deep questions about identity, health, history. So, our mission today, let's explore what makes this genetic story so special. Look at the surprising insights it offers and tackle some of those important questions it raises, really, for all of us.
Let's do it.
So when we start to unravel this whole story, how far back does it actually go? I mean, are we talking millennia etched into the genome?
Oh, absolutely. Millennia. The genetic evidence we have now, it shows that indigenous populations right there in Mexico carry lineages. Well, they trace back at least 12,000, maybe even 15,000 years.
15,000, wow.
Yeah, these are direct genetic links to the very first peoples who migrated into the Americas.
Incredible.
And what's really striking, you know, is that archaeogenetic studies looking at ancient DNA, they reveal some Mexican indigenous groups. Think like the Mix, Zapotec, Maya. They've kept over 90% pre-Columbian ancestry in their DNA. Still today.
90%. That's amazing continuity.
It is, and there's more. Ancient DNA from archaeological sites, like the famous Teotihuacan. It shows complex genetic mixing was already happening between highland peoples and lowland peoples more than 1,500 years ago, and this is before any European contact.
Okay, hang on. So if I'm getting this right, even before the Spanish arrived, there was already significant genetic shuffling within Mexico.
Precisely.
That kind of challenges the simpler picture, right, of just isolated groups.
It absolutely does. The genetic tapestry was already incredibly rich and complex long before 1492. And we also see unique genetic adaptations in these indigenous populations.
Adaptations? Like what?
Well, for example, some groups show genetic adaptations linked to surviving at high altitudes. Others have markers suggesting particularly efficient carbohydrate metabolism.
Which would make sense given traditional diets.
Exactly. Things shaped by centuries of living in and adapting to very specific environments. It's evolution in action, written in the genes.
And then, of course, the early 16th century arrives. A huge turning point.
A massive one.
What happened to this ancient, already complex genetic tapestry when these new worlds collided so dramatically?
Right, that's where the next major layer gets added, a really significant one. After the Spanish arrived, Mexico quickly becomes this major hub.
A hub?
Yeah, for the Columbian exchange, you know, that huge global transfer of people, plants, animals, diseases, ideas. It reshaped the entire world.
And it reshaped the gene pool, too, clearly.
Profoundly. Genetically, it was huge. Spanish settlers, obviously, they brought European ancestry, mostly Iberian from Spain and Portugal. That's the first big wave of new genes.
Okay, makes sense. But the mixing didn't stop just there, did it?
It's not at all. Then you have the transatlantic slave trade,
right,
which introduced Africans into the mix. And their genetic legacy is still very visible today, especially in Afro-Mexican communities you find along the coasts, like in Veracruz or Guerrero.
Okay. Europe, Africa, what else?
Well, here's a piece that maybe fewer people know about. The Manila Galleon trade.
Manila Galleons.
Yeah.
From the Philippines.
Exactly. This trade route ran for like 250 years, from 1565 all the way to 1815. It created this unique direct link between Mexico, specifically Acapulco, and Asia, mainly the Philippines and China.
Wow, I had no idea it was that director lasted that long.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And it led to small but definitely lasting Asian genetic influences. You see them particularly in Western Mexico.
So Mexico was literally a crossroads for Europe, Africa, the Americas, and Asia.
Absolutely. A true global melting pot, genetically speaking, centuries ago. So you fast forward to today. Genetic studies show that on average, the Mexican genome is roughly, say, 40 to 65% indigenous American,
Right.
about 30 to 50% European, and somewhere around 5 to 10% African. But, and this is crucial, these are just averages. The proportions vary massively depending on the region you're looking at. From the Yucatan to Sonora, it can be quite different.
That's incredible. Thinking of Mexico as this gateway to Asia back then, that really changes the standard colonial narrative, doesn't it?
It adds a whole other dimension.
Okay, so let's bring this to the present day. All this incredible genetic diversity. How does it actually impact us now? Especially, in health and science research, it sounds like it must be incredibly valuable.
Oh, it's an unparalleled resource. Truly. Medical researchers often call this kind of diversity a gold mine.
A gold mine, why?
Because it offers unique insights into human health that you just can't get from more homogeneous populations. For instance, researchers have found certain specific gene variants, alleles, scientists call them, that are linked to indigenous ancestry. Now, some of these are associated with a lower incidence of certain cancers.
Well, that's interesting.
But paradoxically, these same populations might carry a higher genetic risk for type 2 diabetes, especially when they're exposed to modern, westernized diets.
Wow. So it's not just about finding good or bad genes.
Exactly. It's about interaction. Genes, environment, diet, lifestyle. It's complex. This isn't just about identifying disease markers. It's giving us profound insights into how our ancient genes respond, sometimes poorly, to modern living.
So this complexity, it really forces us to rethink what healthy genes even means, right? And it must push the boundaries for things like personalized medicine.
Precisely. That's the potential. And the insights keep coming. For example, studies in Mexican Mestizo populations, the mixed populations, they've identified specific genetic markers tied to lactose intolerance.
Oh, yes.
Which, interestingly, affects the majority of the population there, tracing back to ancestries that didn't traditionally rely on dairy farming. But what's potentially revolutionary here is the variation. The huge genetic differences between regions. You compare someone with predominantly Maya ancestry from Yucatan to someone with Yaqui ancestry from Sonora, or someone from an Afro-Mexican community in Guerrero. Studying these differences provides crucial insights into how genes and environment interact to shape health outcomes. It gives us a much more nuanced picture than studying, say, only European populations, which has been the historical norm in a lot of medical research.
So it presents a massive challenge, but also a huge opportunity for better, maybe more targeted treatments down the line.
That's exactly the hope. Yes, a huge opportunity.
Okay, but this incredible tapestry we've been, admiring,
Right.
with all its richness and scientific potential, it can't be entirely straightforward.
No, it isn't.
When you dive deep into something as personal as genetics, as identity, you inevitably hit complex spots, sensitive issues. What are some of the controversies or difficulties that come up with this kind of research?
You're right to bring that up. It's really important. For instance, a major concern, one that's been voiced quite strongly by indigenous communities in Mexico, is about the potential for exploitation in genetic research. There have been documented cases or alleged cases where DNA samples were collected without, let's say, full, truly informed consent.
I see.
Or situations where the benefits that came from discoveries based on those samples weren't shared equitably with the communities themselves.
That raises huge ethical questions.
Absolutely. It highlights just how critical it is to have strong ethical guidelines, real community engagement, and benefit sharing built into this kind of research from the start.
And I guess there are broader societal debates that kind of get tangled up in this as well.
Definitely. There's an ongoing, sometimes quite heated political and cultural debate
Yeah.
about who is considered indigenous. How so? Is it purely genetic? Is it cultural? Is it linguistic? Is it self-identification? Some argue that focusing too much on just the genetic markers can oversimplify things.
Right, like it erases cultural identity.
Yeah. Exactly. It can risk overlooking or even erasing the incredible diversity within indigenous Mexico, the distinct nations, languages, traditions. It's not one monolithic group.
That's a crucial point.
And then you have the whole rise of commercial DNA testing. That adds another layer of complexity.
The home testing kits.
Yeah. On the one hand, they can be really empowering for, say, Mexican Americans wanting to trace their indigenous roots. It can be a powerful connection.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, this data can sometimes get pulled into sensitive political debates about migration, about identity, land rights. There are instances where ancestry data gets sort of weaponized, used to argue for or against certain groups in pretty complex social discussions.
Wow, that's a lot to navigate. It really reflects the deep historical weight and the social implications tied into this whole genetic
It
story.
does. It's deeply intertwined.
Okay, but let's just zoom out again for a moment. Thinking globally, what makes Mexico's genetic profile truly stand out on the world stage? Are there any striking comparisons we can make to really put this extraordinary diversity into perspective?
Well, here's a pretty unique fact to consider. Mexico is one of the very few countries on Earth where the majority of the population is genetically mixed, what's often termed mestizo.
The majority.
Yes, with significant measurable contributions from at least 3 different continental ancestries, Indigenous American, European, and African. That level of tricontinental mixing across a majority of the population is actually quite rare globally.
Okay, that's significant.
And to give you a sense of the internal diversity, here's something that might blow your mind a bit.
Good one.
The genetic differences between 2 Mexicans from geographically opposite regions, say, someone from Chiapas in the far south near Guatemala, and someone from Sonora in the north near the U.S. border.
Okay.
Those genetic differences can actually be greater than the average genetic differences you might find between, say, some Europeans and some Asians.
Wait, really? Greater than between a European and Asian, potentially?
In some comparisons, yes. That's how pronounced the regional genetic differentiation within Mexico can be. It truly highlights the incredible internal diversity packed within one single country.
Wow. That is a powerful way to underscore the sheer scale of diversity we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've journeyed through Mexico's ancient genetic roots. We've seen the profound mixing that happened over centuries.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored why it's so important for cutting-edge science. And we've also touched on the really complex, sensitive issues around it all.
Yeah.
It really is this incredible story of history, migration, resilience, all coming together to create, as you said, one of the most diverse gene pools on Earth.
And this whole journey, it really leaves us with some big questions to chew on, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Like, should this complex genetic heritage be primarily framed as one single unified national identity? Or is it more accurate, maybe more respectful, to always acknowledge the distinct Indigenous, African, European, and Asian legacies within that shared history?
That's a tough one.
And how can science move forward? How can it best protect community rights and ensure fairness while studying this incredibly valuable genetic diversity?
Right. The ethics are paramount.
Absolutely. And maybe the biggest question for the future: can understanding Mexico's unique, varied genetic history truly help us improve public health policies? Can we tailor approaches for its incredibly diverse population?
Really powerful questions for all of us to think about, because ultimately, this genetic story of Mexico, it's so much more than just science, isn't it?
It is.
It's history, it's culture, it's identity, all of it, written right there in our DNA. We really encourage you, the listener, to explore these ideas further, to maybe see that living archive for yourself.